Our galloping population growth rate, which also fuels a high rate of unemployment, relentlessly expands the magnitude and dimensions of poverty in the country to undermine progress we have made in the past 6 years of the current administration. This situation was further compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic. Under the guidance and leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, Nigeria has demonstrated that government can respond with appropriate policy measures to halting the spread of poverty under globally challenging situations, as done with our management of economic downturn as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. You would all agree that if not for the strategies adopted by the government, the number of Nigerians that would have further fallen into poverty trap as a result of the pandemic would have been more than the 7 million estimated by the World Bank in their recent Nigeria Development Update report tagged Resilience Through Reforms. The need to therefore articulate and, most importantly, implement a poverty reduction strategy that focuses on addressing the weaknesses of previous efforts, providing clear evidence that the number of Nigerians living below the poverty line is decreasing, and institutionalize positive gains of such an intervention cannot be more compelling at any time than now. As we are able to surprise the world with a quick, though fragile, exit from recession in the recent past, it is hoped that the National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy will serve not only as a springboard, but also as the template to pull out a massive number of Nigerians out of poverty as promised by Mr. President. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, National Steering Committee of the National Poverty Reduction and Growth Strategy, the Secretary to Government, Chief of Staff to the President. On behalf of my colleagues in the National Steering Committee of the National Poverty Reduction and Growth Strategy, I'd like to express my profound appreciation to Your Excellency for the honor of our nomination to serve. We do not take for granted the confidence reposed in us, and we sincerely appreciate the opportunity to work on this all-important national assignment. Mr. President, in your June 12, 2019 address, you made the now famous declaration that it must be the objective of both federal and state governments to lift 100 million of our people out of poverty within a 10-year period. Thereafter, you directed that each minister's mandate must contain a deliverable on ensuring that every project and program yields jobs to support the 100 million target. This declaration is the logical culmination of your administration's transformative commitment to improving the lives of Nigerians, as previously expressed, through extant strategies such as the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan and the Economic Sustainability Plan. We have made some progress in shielding our vulnerable citizens by instituting effective social protection programs such as NPA, school feeding, conditional cash transfers, and loans to small businesses. We've also navigated the adverse impact of the COVID-19 pandemic by providing an economic stimulus in support of people, employment, and businesses. The National Poverty Eradication and Growth Strategy consolidates and advances all these previous efforts. The overall objective of this strategy is shared and inclusive prosperity. The measures that have been identified to advance this goal include a stable macroeconomic policy environment, an agenda for economic growth anchored on the modernization of agriculture, industrialization, diversification, trade, as well as a range of complementary structural and institutional reforms. However, we do recognize that while economic growth is absolutely imperative, it will not in and of itself bring about poverty eradication. General improvements in the enhanced access to social and economic infrastructure will surely boost labor income by creating higher numbers of decent jobs, as well as absorbing new entrants into the labor market. But to truly break the yoke of poverty, the strategy is also hinged on targeted interventions through redistributive and social protection programs aimed at the poorest and the most vulnerable. In this regard, the strategy is an organic and comprehensive approach to addressing the challenge of poverty. The strategic measures in respect of industrialization, economic diversification, agricultural modernization, and trade will lead to greater productivity. Increased tax revenues from a more productive economy will in turn provide the fiscal resources for increased investment in the delivery of public services, infrastructure, and social security programs. Thus, this strategy is hinged on a vision of greater productivity and efficient redistribution, which we hope will result in a rising tide that lifts all boats above the poverty line. Nigeria has never been short of great plans. The measure of our success, we know, will lie in our ability to diligently implement our ambitions and the strategy which has been laid out, and the impact that it will have on the lives of the people, the young job seekers, for whom we must provide opportunity, the entrepreneurs who we must assist in growing their businesses on scale, the farmers whose livelihoods we must secure, and the children whose dreams we must make come true. This is a task that we will approach with the utmost rigor and dedication as we commence our work in earnest. Again, Mr. President, let me, on behalf of my colleagues, once again, thank you for the opportunity to serve. Thank you very much, sir.
The governors of Ekiti, Nasarawa State, Deputy Governor of Borno State, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, the Chief of Staff, the Honorable Ministers of Labor, Health, Agriculture and Rural Development, Industries, and Humanitarian Affairs. Extra. Members of the National Steering Committee for the National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy, senior government officials, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am most delighted to address you today on this occasion that further testifies to the resolve of this administration to tackle Nigeria's efforts to reduce the number of our citizens living in poverty. This journey began in January 2021 when I directed the chairman of the Prudential Economic Advisory Council and secretary to the government of the Federation to collaboratively work together to articulate an edifice that will lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. I am happy to note that the process of designing this inclusive poverty reduction strategy recognized and addressed past mistakes, as well as laying the foundation for a sustainable poverty reduction through the wide range of consultations held at all levels of government, development partners, the private sector, as well as the civil society. The National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy thus addressed the underlying causes of poverty, on the basis of which it develops programs that will deal with the multidimensional nature of poverty within the practical context of comparative advantage of human and natural resources in the various geopolitical zones. The major challenge before the National Steering Committee is to translate our good intention into positive impact of every Nigerian so that we create an appreciative impact on the poverty situation in the country. If India can lift 271 million people out of poverty between 2006 and 2016, Nigeria can surely lift 100 million out of poverty in 10 years. Fortunately, we have already started, but we need to unlock the challenges of slow implementation, inappropriate targeting, and absence of adequate resources. The performance of our economy, despite COVID-19, gives me comfort that we can achieve our goal, but we need to seriously scale up and work more with state and local governments. This call becomes more pertinent in the face of recent forecasts by the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and our own Nigerian Economic Summit Group, which all agree that Nigeria needs to promptly tackle her poverty situation if our economic gains are to be sustained. It is therefore my pleasure to inaugurate the National Steering Committee of Nigeria's National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy, to be chaired by the Vice President and with the following members: A, Secretary to the Government of the Federation; B, Chief of Staff to the President; C, Governor of Ekiti State, and big man of the Governors Forum, the Governor of Sokoto from the Northwest, the Governor of Nasarawa North Central, Governor of Ebonyi in the Southeast, the Governor of Borno in the Northeast, Governor of Delta from South-South, Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management and Social Development, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Minister of Labor and Employment, Minister of Education, Minister of Health, and Minister of State Budget and National Planning. As members of the National Steering Committee, your responsibilities are to A, anchor collaborative efforts; B, provide oversight for the implementation of the strategy; C, provide guidance to technical working group and the federal ministries, extra-ministerial departments and agencies, subnational governments, and other stakeholders on meeting the objectives of the program, as well as monitoring progress, and any other effort that would enhance attainment of the objective of lifting 100 million people out of poverty in 10 years. It is for this reason that membership cuts across both federal and state governments. I am very confident that this team can deliver on our promise. As you all know, funding will always be a challenge, especially in these times when resources are limited. The National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy has thus proposed the establishment of a private Equity Fund, the Nigeria Investment and Growth Fund, to lead our resource mobilization drive and also manage the resources in a sustainable manner. Mr. Vice President and distinguished members of the National Steering Committee, I hereby charge you to commence work immediately so that the technical working group will also begin putting the nuts and bolts together. You may, therefore, wish to consider providing immediate guidance to the technical working group on the following: A, establishment of the Nigerian Investment and Growth Fund, leveraging on the Development Finance Assessment Report, public and private sector funding. B, harmonize existing human capital development. C, scale up existing poverty reduction initiatives, such as the social investment programs, various agricultural support initiatives, as well as support to micro, small, and medium enterprises, and D, leverage on existing development partner support programs and projects with potentials for quick wins, e.g. the Nigerian COVID-19 action, recovery, and economic stimulus. Distinguished members of the National Steering Committee, your responsibilities are onerous, but once again, I reiterate my confidence that this committee will be able to lay the foundation and demonstrate within the next 2 years the practicality of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in under 10 years. I wish you well and pray for your success for the good of our dear country, Nigeria. I thank you all for listening, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you, Mr. President. Shall we rise to take? To freedom, peace, and unity.
Yes, Chairman.